All right. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Dr.Podcast. You're in for a real treat today as we explore systems engineering with the Dr. Mo Huss. So thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you very much, Liz. I'm doing great.
That's awesome. So first of all, I just wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit about your background and what specifically inspired you to pursue a doctorate in systems engineering.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. My background is in industrial engineering. I began my career in the oil and gas industry, but following the financial crisis in 2008, I transitioned to technology consulting. This shift opened doors to some exciting opportunities, including my engagement in mega programs such as the 2022 FIFA World Cup. During that engagement, I witnessed the immense challenges associated with managing a portfolio of over 500 projects, collectively valued at $100 billion with B. It became clear to me back then that the core issues in such large-scale programs were not strictly engineering problems.
Right.
But they stemmed from managing and orchestrating hundreds of engineering projects at a portfolio level. This realization motivated me to pursue a master's degree in project management to deepen my understanding of managing complex, larger-scale projects.
Nice.
Later in my career, I encountered another class of larger scale challenges, the modernization of IT legacy systems. In California, several high-profile system modernization projects had failed or faced significant challenges.
Yeah.
Resulting in the loss of hundreds of millions in taxpayer funds.
Right.
And throughout my consulting work with various organizations, I observed that what was often missing was a system thinking at the enterprise level. In other words, to see the big picture when tackling legacy system modernization. I couldn't find back then like an established playbook or like a framework to address this problem.
Yeah.
And the deeper I dove into the problem, the more questions I had about how to approach legacy system modernization in a structured, methodical way. This intellectual curiosity and the desire to find a practical evidence-based solution led me to pursue a Ph.D. in systems engineering. And throughout this journey, I've been always working full-time, and I am still working to date.
That's great. I like how you're talking too about like the big picture, I feel like so often, right, with pursuing a doctoral degree, we're very much focused on like the narrow, of like exploring something. And often, right, neglected is like seeing the big picture of things. So it seems like you were able to kind of like set the precedent, right, use like a novel strategy in a way to identify like a solution for something. So like a challenge. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So with pursuing your PhD, you're managing all of these, consulting engagements. That's like no small feat. That's a lot right on your plate. So with that being said, how did you navigate, the competing demands of rigorous research, entrepreneurial ventures, and also your personal commitments, right? Having a life outside of your full-time work, right? You're pursuing your doctorate. So were there strategies that you employed to help you stay on track?
Yeah, pursuing a PhD, everybody knows that it requires a tremendous amount of commitment and dedication. I've heard you talking about this in your episode as well
Yeah,
with Dr. Reem. So doing so while working full time demands significant sacrifices, including evenings, weekends, and holidays, and
right.
adding family responsibilities into the equation makes it even more challenging and requires strong support from your family. I
It
was
does.
fortunate. Yeah, I was fortunate to have a super supportive wife who had gone through her own PhD journey, and she understood the demands and sacrifices required. And her unwavering support was the foundation that enabled me to stay committed and balanced throughout the process.
Yeah,
Um, as for the second part of your question, one of the strategies I find invaluable is aligning different aspects of your life, work, study, and personal interests as closely as possible.
right.
Think of these as three lines in your life. The closer these three lines overlap, the more efficient and fulfilling your journey becomes. For example, if you develop an early passion for programming and enjoy spending hours coding, it makes sense to pursue formal education in computer science or computer engineering.
Right.
Following this path into a career allows you to continue doing what you love while working.
Exactly.
So in my case, my passion for like solving complex systems challenges aligned with my consulting work and my PhD research. This overlap increased my efficiency simply because the time I spend in one of the lines supports the other two lines.
Yeah, that's so important that when it overlaps, it does really allow you, right, with time management to make a better use of your time. You
That's
know,
true.
that's so true.
Yeah.
Great advice. So, as we know, with, a PhD isn't just about research, it shapes the way that we actually think and we lead. So, what core qualities do you think engineers develop during the journey? So, what do they actually develop, and how do those qualities translate to solving real world challenges?
I think, regardless of your research topic, engineering graduates in general develop strong problem solving and logical thinking skills. Uh, Advanced degrees, such as master's or PhD in engineering, deepen and refine these skills even further, making them like applicable on a much larger scale. For example, my master's degree significantly helped me approach the complexities of managing a larger scale portfolio like the World Cup, where I had to think systematically about interdependencies as well as medium and long term outcomes. While the specific objectives of each engineering program vary, I believe that PhD graduates in engineering develop three core qualities that distinguish them.
Oh,
It all starts with a research mindset. Like a PhD fosters a curiosity-driven approach to solve challenges. It
right.
encourages engineers to ask big questions, explore new ideas, and validate their own thinking or that of others throughout systematic investigation. This research mindset lays the foundation for another essential quality, problem solving.
Hmm.
By developing a research mindset, engineers can break down complex, identify root causes, and evaluate alternative solutions. These alternative solutions, in turn, lead to a third critical quality, big picture thinking. Uh, this involves like stepping back into like uh, try to view the problems from like a system level perspective,
Yeah.
understanding how all the pieces fit together within a larger context. like big picture thinking like allows engineers to identify the optimal solutions, not just for individual problems, but for the overall system. I think we can all agree that these qualities are essential for tackling today's complex problems.
They are definitely. And as you said, it's like no easy feat, it's like actually acquiring those skills. So that's really important that you actually learned those things in your PhD program and you're able to bring those forward into your working life now. So that's fantastic. One question that I forgot to ask earlier is if you could offer one single piece of advice to aspiring PhD candidates in engineering, so somebody who's wanting to pursue that route, what would it be? So what advice would you provide? And are there specific skills or mindsets that they should cultivate to thrive during their journey?
If you're considering a PhD or even a master's in engineering, I would highly recommend that you find a mentor who can help you reflect on your career and life goals and guide you in identifying the most efficient pathways to achieve them. Efficiency in this context means maximizing the achievement of your goals within the limited time, energy, and resources we have as humans.
Right.
A mentor can provide valuable insights, helping you focus on what truly matters and avoid unnecessary detours. In addition, it's critical to recognize that the way we gain and apply knowledge today has significantly evolved and will continue to evolve due to technological advancements.
Right.
For this reason, it's really important to periodically step back and evaluate your goals. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve? Why it's important to me? What are the most efficient options to reach this destination while minimizing the time and effort required and maximizing the impact? What this highlights is that, unlike other professions, such as physicians, pharmacists, or lawyers, in some industries and organizations, it's possible to practice engineering even without holding an engineering degree or a formal engineering title. So, something to think about.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So with this, right now we want to kind of get into technology and industry, right? You have experience in both of these. So let's try to combine it together and ask you some questions related to that. So the intersection, right, of engineering and technology, as you mentioned, right, it's very much evolving and very quickly. So what emerging technologies do you believe will reshape information technology systems in the next decade? And then how do you think that engineers can position themselves to lead in these areas?
As many people know today, the four disruptive technologies that have already transformed our lives and will continue to do so for years to come are artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, and Internet of Things. What's particularly fascinating about these technologies is how they work together to create transformative solutions. For example, modern electric vehicles are equipped with advanced Internet of Things devices, such as sensors, cameras, and onboard diagnostic systems, which constantly collect data.
Yeah.
According to a recent projection, by 2026, a typical connected electric vehicle could generate up to 25 gigabytes of data per hour.
Wow.
To put this into perspective, if a typical computer today has a 500 gigabyte hard drive, that hard drive would be completely full in just 20 hours of data collection from a single electric vehicle. With millions of electric vehicles on the road, this translates to an enormous volume of data being generated daily. This massive influx of data is transmitted in real time to the cloud, where the vast computational power and like this is where all the processing and storage happens.
Yeah.
Big data analytics then organizes and interprets the information, uncovering trends and patterns and like drive some meaningful insights. Like this is huge, like how these things work together. This is not how things used to be like 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
And for instance, like engineers can use this data to optimize battery performance, predict maintenance needs, and analyze how driving conditions affect energy consumption. AI further even enhanced this ecosystem by delivering some actionable insights from the processed data. So this interplay between the Internet of Things, big data, cloud computing, and AI creates like this feedback loop, continuously refining and improving electric vehicle performance, safety, and efficiency. Which is absolutely fascinating.
Definitely. I mean, with that being said, do you feel like we're actually prepared and like ready to take on the intersection of all of these three things? Or do you feel like we don't have like the skills or like the readiness just quite yet?
I think we are gradually moving into that direction. I think everybody, as you can see, everybody's talking about AI.
Yeah.
As you can see, like the first week of the new administration, one of the biggest announcement, like $500 billion investment in AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual shift. It's a train that has already left the station. Everybody is really trying to catch up with. So it's just like it's a matter of when. So everybody will have to catch up.
Yeah, just like anything, you know.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
So the next question is, bridging this like technical depth and the practical application, right? It's a key aspect of technology consulting. So how can engineers balance, right, this technical mastery with the consultative skills needed to solve the challenges in the industry? So with that, right, what advice would you give to those transitioning from purely technical roles into more consulting or advisory positions?
Technical mastery and consulting skills are fundamentally different, and bridging the gap between them is essential for success in technology consulting. When working with organization, it's commonly understood that problem solving revolves around three core pillars: people, process, and technology. As an engineer, your instinct is often to focus on the technical problem and its corresponding solution. However, in real world scenarios, technology alone is rarely sufficient. You need to consider the people who will ultimately use the solution and the processes that exist within the organization to facilitate the use of that solution. Additionally, you must address the changes required in both people and processes to ensure that the technology is successfully implemented and adopted. In fact, one of the biggest challenges in technology consulting is managing the people aspect.
Right.
And I'm sure that people like a professional people like you with background in psychology would really appreciate that. Oh my God, so I'm really needed in the consulting.
Right, I love this. This is great.
So while technology may be complex, it's often the easiest part of any consulting engagement. The real challenge lies in driving behavioral and organizational change, as people like are often resistant to adopting for new systems or processes. Therefore, probably like over the years, and I'm sure that you're an expert in this field, that we started to hear about terms like organizational psychology or organizational behavior, specifically to address these kind of, like, solving these technology implementation challenges within the organization by trying to borrow some techniques from the psychology field.
Yeah, and even that alone, that's actually burgeoning, that field. So it's becoming in more popular demand over the next 10 years as well. So that makes sense with like what you're saying,
Yeah, absolutely. And like it, and in general, for like those engineers, like as you like advance in your like career, becoming like a manager, director, or executives, you'll find yourself dealing with a fewer technical issues and focusing more on strategic, organizational, and people-related challenges. And this transition can be rewarding, but it's essential to ask yourself, is this what you want?
Right.
Are you prepared to step away from the hands-on technical work and embrace the broader scope of consulting and leadership? You need to think about it.
Yeah, it's always the why, though, right? And like trying to figure out like what actually inspires you, right, with this going forward.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Really important. Yeah. So as someone, right, who's working at the intersection of academia, right, as well as industry, how do you see research in the information technology space translating into real world impact, right? So many times we don't talk about how things, right, actually go from research to the real world. So how do you see that happening? And then are there areas where this gap between research and application needs to be bridged further?
Many of the technological advances we see today had their origin in academia. For instance, artificial intelligence began as a research field in the 50s.
Yep.
Similarly, the internet, GPS, and even advancements in material sciences, all these originated in academic research before finding transformative real-world application. The question of how to bridge the gap between research and industry has been a topic of discussion for decades. Unfortunately, I don't have a perfect answer. I think many engineering schools design its academic programs to actively integrate practical industry-focused problem solving into the students' research projects. I was fortunate that my Ph.D. program was structured this way. Students were required to identify real-world problems and use their research to provide practical solutions. This included validating the solution in an industry context.
Okay.
In summary, in my opinion, like requiring masters and PhD students to focus their research on solving real life industry challenges, potentially within their organization and potentially funded by their organization,
right,
could be one way to bridge the gap between academia and industry. It not only ensures that academic work has practical applications, but also helps students develop the skills needed to transition smoothly into industry roles.
Yeah, and that's so important, right? It's actually the integration of those two things and having the skills, right? For like if you're going to go into industry. So I feel like that's discipline specific, right? Some disciplines they train you just purely for academia. Others are actually more geared towards industry. So that's good though that you were able to get an experience and flavor for both of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like really selecting the right program that fits your career goals. Are you trying to continue in the academia? Are you trying to continue in the industry? I think these are like completely different directions.
Yeah.
You need to take a step back, have a discussion with someone you trust, a mentor, as we discussed at the beginning, I think that could be very helpful to really help you try to build that, career roadmap for yourself as an engineer.
Absolutely. Because sometimes too, professors are just like leading you to like one avenue. So you want to actually be able to step away and say, okay, what do I actually want? How do I want to pursue this? So I think that's important for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So with the role, right, what role do you think that lifelong learning plays in engineering?
I remember at the end of my my PhD defense, I told the committee something that still resonates with me. I said that when I started the program, I thought my knowledge gap was relatively small. But by the end of the program, I realized how vast my knowledge gap truly was, much larger than I had initially imagined. This realization was like both humbling and overwhelming, as I came to understand that completing my PhD wasn't the end of a journey, but the beginning of a lifelong learning journey.
Right.
The great news is that the resources for lifelong learning have grown exponentially over the years. 20 years ago, when you wanted to learn about a topic, you knew exactly where to go. The library.
Exactly.
Today, you can open your computer and access the entire world's knowledge in seconds. However, this abundance of information creates a new challenge: overwhelm. Instead of struggling to find information in the library, now we face the difficulty of sorting through endless sources to find the most reliable and valuable sources of information. To investigate this, try to investigate, try to find the best sources of information. I would probably recommend focusing on streamlining your sources of knowledge. Identify a few trusted online platforms, courses, tools that align with your goals, and stick to them to avoid distraction. Additionally, building habits like setting aside regular time for reading, watching educational videos or webinars, or engaging with online professional communities can help you stay ahead in the rapidly changing landscape without being distracted.
That's really great advice, and so needed, I think, for so many people to know that. So. Yeah. All right. And then our last question for today is, how do you think that PhD programs in engineering can better prepare graduates for industry roles? So are there specific curriculum enhancements or maybe practical experiences that might benefit students and be advantageous?
I believe that one of the most significant challenge facing engineering PhD programs today is adapting to the rapid pace of technological advancements. This is a completely different challenge compared to even 5 years ago. The competition among companies to introduce new tools and technologies is intense, and the cycle of innovation has become incredibly fast. For example, we might wake up one day to the release of a groundbreaking tool or technology. People quickly adapt it, and only to find that a few weeks later, something even more advanced has emerged.
Yeah.
This constant cycle of innovation creates challenge for educational programs. For students, mastering a specific tool or technology during their PhD program might mean that by the time they graduate, it's already outdated. So what's the solution? Again, I don't have a definitive answer.
That's like many things, right? That's what happens.
But I believe it will require engineering programs to think innovatively about how they prepare students for industry roles. One approach is to continue integrating more real-world industry-based projects into the curriculum, as we discussed earlier. And probably building on this, schools could integrate AI-driven tools and platforms directly into their learning process.
Yeah.
Probably enabling students to adapt to new technologies in real time. For example, dynamic AI-powered learning platform could personalize educational based on individual needs, like keeping pace with rapid technological advancements. It could be something like an AI chatbot that asks the student a few questions about their goals and interests, and then build a custom sandbox or a tailored tutorials on the fly.
Yeah.
Showing students to learn and practice in a way that aligns with their objectives.
That would be fantastic. I'm sure so many students would love that,
Of course, I would have loved that if I had something like that during my master's or PhD.
Right, but that's the future. So exciting things ahead,
Yes, I can imagine that. This is the future. This is where we're heading to.
Exactly. And you're helping to contribute to all this. So fantastic.
Every one of us is trying to contribute as much as they could to the community, of course.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Mo, for going through all of this with us, really sharing your expertise, right? Your wonderful experience with all the viewers. So thank you so much. Is there one last piece of information or advice that you would have for students either pursuing their PhD or maybe eventually they want to pursue a PhD?
I would probably say before taking any step, take a step back, think about it, think twice, and just be very, very clear about where do you want to go, and evaluate the options to get you there, because there are so many options and so many routes that could lead to the same destination today. So take your time to think about it, spend some good amount of time to think about it.
Yeah, there's no rush at all. You're going to be in grad school for quite some time, so don't make a rash decision, right? Don't think lightly or take it lightly. So,
Absolutely.
Great advice. All right. Well, thank you so much again. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Dr. Liz. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.